Mm-hmm.
You found yourself on another episode of Locked On NBA Game Night. On tonight's episode, we're going to talk about the Boston Celtics, where things got a little chippy. Also, the Minnesota Timberwolves dropped the Denver Nuggets. We're going to talk about all that and more. The Cavs stay unbeaten right after this.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Locked On NBA Game Night. My name is Haize. I'm joined by host of Locked On Nuggets, Swipa in the building. And today's episode is brought to you guys by FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com right now where you can get $150 back on your first $5 bet. If you win, that is. Swipa, there's a lot of NBA action going on around tonight. And first up, we're going to talk about the Boston Celtics game where, hey, man, I don't know what's going on here. Grant Williams basically just completely bulldozed Jason Tatum, ends up getting ejected from that game. And Jaylen Brown afterwards says that there's no place in the game for things like that. And says actions speak loudly. The Boston Celtics ended up winning this game 124-105. How you feeling about this game, Swiper?
I don't understand Grant Williams' processing. I think that there was a point in time in the game where it was a 3-point game, basically. They had a chance to honestly take the lead, but Charlotte just fell completely apart. I'm talking about Grant Williams, Miles Bridges, all of them just absolutely lost control of what they're supposed to be doing. But look, I mean, ultimately, like, the Celtics are the Celtics. They're a buzzsaw, and I never in my brain thought they were going to lose that game. Jason Tatum had another good game, I would say, on the year. 32 points for Jason Tatum, 11 rebounds, 3 assists. He looks, he didn't shoot the three as well as you would want him to, but Jason is such a physical profile, man. Like, he can do whatever he wants when he's on the court, and then you couple that, with JB, man. They're just a special duo, and down the stretch of the game, they were just able to take over. What I do love, though, on the Charlotte side is LaMelo, man. I don't know if people have been paying attention to LaMelo Ball.
He's balling.
He looks like he is taking a legit star leap this year, and I mean, he's already been an all-star, but is this one of the premier young franchise players you want on your roster? Now, his defense was horrible down the stretch of the game. Every single possession, they were attacking LaMelo Ball and getting a bucket or getting a foul. Now, some of that is LaMelo got to get more discipline with his hand placement. He was sticking his hand in the cookie jar for no reason on backdowns from JB. But LaMelo is a 6'7" point guard. He should be a better defender. He definitely has the potential to at least be an average defender at the worst. But, man, every single down in possession, they were doing that to him. But he had a crazy corner three that he hit today that was again, you see it in him, and you see the greatness in him. You see him getting better. And when he's healthy, he's a very special talent. But, man, Charlotte definitely has some stuff they need to clean up. But, honestly, this was just another day in the office for the current best team in the NBA.
Yeah, the Boston Celtics are just built different. But I agree with everything that you said as far as with LaMelo Ball. LaMelo, he has such great potential to just be amazing offensively. And then you look at his brother Lonzo, and you would think that LaMelo would be a little bit better defensively. It may just be a focus thing. I don't know what it is there. He has all the physical makeup of somebody who could be a really good wing and guard defender. But offensively, he just seems to have hit that next level. He just has to stay healthy. I got the Charlotte Hornets as a dark horse, not to necessarily come out the East, but to make some noise in the East. I do think they can make it interesting to play in. And if they make it to the playoffs with how this roster is, they just got to stay healthy. And LaMelo is at the forefront of this. Now, with the Grant Williams thing, Miles Bridges ends up getting ejected down the stretch of this game as well. How concerned are you about maybe the mentality part of this for the Charlotte Hornets to make a serious leap? Or is it just that Grant Williams has a problem with the Celtics?
I don't expect anything solid mentally out of that team. Miles Bridges has not ever shown that he has the best way of handling himself. So, I mean, I don't expect anything from him. Grant Williams is repeatedly shown that he will make these colossal mistakes and horrible decisions over the course of a game. And obviously everybody goes back to the Jimmy Butler moment in the Eastern Conference Finals when he decides like, oh, let me heat up their best player in a crucial playoff game. But Grant, like, I'll say that tackle slide into no reason foul play he had on Jason Tatum made no sense. Number one, you're trying to win the game, and why would you foul in that situation anyway? Number two, why would you foul him that hard when he can't see you? That's the thing about like playing basketball. There just are ways you're supposed to foul in those situations or supposed to have a hard foul, but Jason Tatum couldn't see him. He came from his back rear left side, and he legitimately could have hurt Tatum if Tatum thankfully was able to catch himself and fall correctly and all that. But I don't understand why players do stuff like that. It was very reminiscent of the Markieff Morris, Nikola Jokic play, except Tatum, Jokic is different. Like, if you do that to Jokic, then Jokic, you're going to have words and some body from him. Tatum just like kind of, got angry, took the play. The ref tried to grab him. He like took the ref's arms off of him and said, blah, blah, blah. Like, so he handled himself well. But I don't, anything having to do with like, in IQ and intelligence for the Charlotte Hornets, I'm not necessarily expecting that, but some of that's because they're young. Brandon Miller, LaMelo Ball, they don't know what they don't know yet. They're still developing. Grant Williams has always kind of gone in and out of making good decisions and stuff as well. But, I mean, they got a bright future. They got a lot of young talent. I think Trey Mann is a really good player. I think he has a very bright future. I think, he's like the Allen Iverson approximation in some ways. I mean, he's a good player. But overall, I don't really know what they're going to – they're going to before the season I said I think they're going to struggle to make the play-in. They might be able to, but – really their whole thing is about development, finding a consistent identity, finding a consistent offense, and especially with the new coach in line, and just making sure that they're continuing to get the best out of their young talent.
Completely agree with you there. Let's go to the next game on the docket. Your Denver Nuggets get dropped by the Minnesota Timberwolves 119-116. This was a really, really good game, maybe even the game of the night. Christian Braun with a crazy dunk on Rudy Gobert. Gobert was a good sport about it afterwards, but Jamal Murray does go down into concussion protocol during this game. How you feeling about this one, Swipe?
Yeah, Jamal, I said this, there was a play, and it's a pretty standard NBA play, where Jamal got about to set a back screen for Nikola Jokic, and Jamal, while he was approaching, for Julius Randle rather, and Aaron Gordon, and Jamal went to go set the screen, and then Anthony Edwards like pushed Jamal into the screen a little bit more, which again is a very standard NBA thing. Like when you're a defender, you want to create the contact to disrupt the screen. And so when he did that, Jamal kind of lurched forward a little bit, and because Julius is just so big, he ran into Julius' shoulder while he was moving in his direction, ended up hitting his head, and had concussion-like symptoms. So who knows like how long that's going to last for, if he's out, no idea. But it ended up costing them very dearly, because at the end of the game, when they needed to get into a set offense with the last 2 minutes and 30 seconds left, they couldn't do it because it was Jokic, Christian Braun, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, and Russell Westbrook. And the Wolves basically were doubling off of either Brown or Russ, and they were basically daring anybody else on Denver to beat them. And so it affected it, but they should have won the game. The Denver Nuggets came back down from a 12-point deficit at the top of the fourth quarter. They get up about 7 to 8, 9 points. And they should have put the game away. They started being really lazy with the basketball. The communication was off. And again, they couldn't run a half-court offense. And it all just kind of came cratering. But Michael Porter Jr. played a heck of a game. Aaron Gordon played a great game, 31 and 11. Michael Porter had 26, 6 and 4, 3 of 7 from 3. But really, Haize, the biggest issue, the Nuggets bench. Yeah. They're horrible. They're the worst in the league.
Struggle of a season to start, man.
Yeah, he's been struggling offensively, made some really good defensive plays. But bro, Dario Saric he's been very bad. Peyton Watson looks like he's still needing to kind of reacclimate himself with the NBA. He hasn't looked good. But again, Dario was a -11 in just 5 minutes played. Jokic is a +6 in the game. They lost by 3 points. So that should tell you how the game went.
That's a fact. That's a fact. And, the Nuggets, we're getting some kind of early criticism, and I think the Nuggets are going to be fine. Overall, the bench is a concern. The Wolves, on the other hand, man, I've been really impressed by what I've seen from the Wolves, and maybe that's just because I was one of the people that viewed this trade as maybe it made them a little bit worse initially. But it seems like they're starting to kind of find their path. I still don't think they have the same firepower or oomph that they had last year in that run to the Western Conference Finals, but we'll see how the season goes for them.
Yeah, their defense is the issue. Their offense has been pretty good, but their defense is not the same. And they've been mid defensively, to say the least.
To say the least. That is an absolute fact. Well, next up, we're going to be talking about the Cavs staying unbeaten tonight against the Orlando Magic. That is, they have their own major injury there with Paolo being out. But before we get into that, we got to talk to you guys about a message from one of our sponsors, and that's FanDuel. All right, guys, FanDuel is trying to help you guys save money. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. I can't stress enough for my people that bet how much of a leg up that gives you to be able to get all the information you need to make an informed bet on the exact same page where you can place your bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Again, that's $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Just go to FanDuel.com. All right, Swiper. Man, the Cavs stay unbeaten. I don't know about you. Not that I didn't think that the Cavs could win a lot of regular season games, for example, coming into the season, but I didn't expect them to start off this way. They get a win tonight over the Orlando Magic, 120-109. How you feeling about the Cavs being the only unbeaten team left in the Eastern Conference?
Well, I will say, color me surprised. Today, though, no Paolo Banchero. So, I mean, obviously the Magic are looking a lot different. They were running heavy Jalen Suggs offense in the second half. They just didn't have anything else they could get into. They don't have any other offensive creators, so I think the Cavs were just able to take advantage of that. But also, their offense has been very good this year. The Cavs have had, surprisingly, one of the best offenses in the league. Now, shout out Kenny Atkinson. He was able to help them to do that, obviously. They're utilizing their personnel. Darius Garland is playing a lot better. He's healthy now. Donovan Mitchell looks good. And then on top of that, Evan Mobley is looking like a legitimate, like, two-way player. And then you get Jared Allen, who's already been one of the better vertical spacers in the league, one of the better defenders. And then off the bench, Sam Merrill, Karis LeVert, George Niang, Isaac Okoro. Like, they just got guys. And their rotation has just been so strong. And even today, you know, they get 15 of 38 from three, 39.5%. And they're just able to attack you in so many different ways. And even versus a very good defense like the Orlando Magic, they're still getting to their spots and hitting really timely buckets. And so I'm actually really happy to see kind of how this team is forming and how they're functioning. And I think everybody has a role and they stick to it. And Evan Mobley, 14 and 12 today. And then you get Donovan Mitchell with 22, Darius with 25. Like, all the players that are supposed to be performing are performing for them. And then Karis LeVert, who, again, I don't know, maybe because, you know, he got kind of moved out of Brooklyn a little bit and people kind of forgot who he was. But Karis LeVert legitimately, like, is one of the best bench players in the league. He's a great scorer, really good playmaker and decision maker off your bench. And so to have him and then have a couple shooters coming off the bench as well, I think that this team is headed in the right direction. I don't know if they're going to be contending for the top of the East the entire year, but if you told me that they ended up being a top 4 seed, top 3 seed, top 2 seed, I wouldn't be shocked based on how things have started. But a 6-0 start, they're the best team right now in the Eastern Conference record-wise. And look, it could be all up from there, man. Their defense is the floor, and they got 2 great defenders on that roster. And if they can figure out the offense around that, then this could be a dangerous team.
For sure. And this is the first time they've been 6-0 since the 2016 season. Let me ask you this real quick, Swiper, because I agree with everything that you laid out there. I think that they have such balance now in this lineup that they just haven't had in previous years, even with having this basically the same roster. Just, it seems like everybody kind of fits into the roles now even more seamlessly than what they have before. But if you had to pick anything that would stop the Cleveland Cavaliers from being able to either make the Eastern Conference Finals or make it out the East, I know it's very early in the season, what do you think that thing is that could hold them back?
I mean, just top-end talent. They have a lot of talent, but, you know, if you told me the 76ers were fully healthy and you got Embiid and Paul George Tyrese Maxey and the rest of that roster. And look, I don't know what to make of the Bucks, but let's say they get into a time machine and they can play defense again. And then you told me that the Bucks with Dame and Giannis and Chris Middleton and Brook Lopez and DeLon Wright and Gary Trent Jr., if they were to figure it out, and Taurean Prince, and they were able to put together a competent defense, then I could believe that. But honestly, they're probably just outright better than the Pacers right now. They're probably just outright better than the Magic right now. So really, and then New York even, they could be straight up better than New York. So there's a very real path for them that if they get the right seeding and avoid Boston until the Eastern Conference Finals, where they could make it. But it's really just going to come down to matchup and how healthy the rest of the East is.
That's a fact. That's a fact. One thing on the Magic before we leave, Jalen Suggs did score his career high 28 points today. Franz Wagner with 17 points. We know that Paolo's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks for them. Their defense has always been kind of the stalwart of that team. Do you think without Paolo that they're going to have enough offense to win enough games to not fall too back in the East? We know they're not going to be able to have the same offensive firepower, but with Suggs' growth offensively, Wagner and what he's been able to do over his career, he's been a 20-point per game scorer before. Do you think they'll have enough offense?
I mean, Tristan De Silva had 17 off the bench, so they can find scoring. They got Cole Anthony. Jalen Suggs could morph into more of that role. Obviously, Franz can. But in terms of creation and playmaking, they didn't have that in a high degree as it was. So losing Paulo is huge. So can they win because their defense is going to lock you up for 48 minutes? Yes. Absolutely, 1,000%. KCP is not shooting well. Offense hasn't been really good, but Jalen Suggs, KCP, Franz, Mo Wagner, they just have a lot of players that's as soon as you cross half court, it's wave after wave of defender with Jonathan Isaac coming off the bench. So they could win games, but in terms of it being their offense, they're probably going to be streaky more than anything else. Now, streaky teams are still dangerous, but streaky shooting and streaky scoring is not something that you can rely on consistently.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Let's move on to the next game. The Pelicans with a 125-118 win over the Pacers. This was another game that had a highlight reel dunk. Yves Missi is just – I was so high on Yves Missi for later in this draft, and considering just how nobody in this draft, I think there's one player out of this draft averaging double-digit points so far. There's been no really player to separate themselves out of this rookie class. But Yves Missi has a role on this Pelicans team. He's excelling in that role. I like what he's doing. I like the fact that after losing C.J. McCollum and Herb Jones, Zion has a 34-10 game. Brandon Ingram 26 points for them to get this dub. How do you feel about this game, Swipa?
Well, look, I think the Pelicans have a lot of talent, and they should be able to win a lot of games. The Patriots, obviously, the second night of a back-to-back after playing Boston yesterday, so they were already kind of behind the 8 ball. Mm-hmm. But look, Zion hasn't been finishing well this year, but Zion, if he's able to do what he normally does and convert at a high level around the rim, he has so much in his bag with his quickness, his versatility offensively. He really adds a lot to that roster, obviously. And so if he's able to be consistent like he was tonight, but also he's able to finish and then play make off of his gravity, there's so many things that he has to offer. And then also Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram is one of the most tantalizing names, I think, in the NBA because he's a 6'7" 9 wing that should be able to be a playmaker, should be able to be a good passer, should be able to be like a lead wing and also be a really good scorer. But he also is very inconsistent to the point where he's not in the rotation in playing games last year. But tonight, 26 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, plays well. He's moving the ball around. He's hitting his shots, making good decisions. Again, 10 of 25, so it wasn't the most efficient game, but I think overall, this is the kind of things you want to see from Brandon Ingram. And then I think, Missi is just he's young, so he's going to take time to continue to develop. But what I do like about their roster, even though it's not the biggest roster in the world, they have shooting. And I think with C.J. McCollum, Jose Alvarado, Jordan Hawkins, they have players that can light it up for you and I think be adequate spacing around Zion Williamson when they're at full health. And so they actually have a nice core of players to utilize, but this was really important for them, I think, to get a win because the Western Conference right now is very mid-loaded. Everybody's kind of around 500 because they're trying to figure stuff out, obviously, except for the Thunder, who are just double-digit wins in every game that they have this year. But everybody else is trying to find their identity and how they're supposed to be playing together. So Zion and the rest of the Pelicans are in that. It's still in that fold. But I think if Zion, man, if he can find that consistency, man, I think they really have a nice run they can go on this year.
Yeah, I agree. Zion just has to be healthy at the right time. And I like so much Zion. The one thing with this roster that I keep looking at now, when everybody's healthy, right now with CJ out, Herb out, DeJounte Murray out, maybe they don't have to worry about it enough because this gives them a time to feature Brandon Ingram. But whatever they do with Ingram at this trade deadline, if they move him, I think it's going to be really telling for what type of run this team can go on in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what they would trade him for, but he's a good player. Don't get me wrong, and having Trey Murphy on the roster is really important for them and Herb Jones. But yeah, I mean, we've been talking about them trading Brandon Ingram for a couple of years now, so I'll be curious if they actually do it or not.
It doesn't seem like it's so weird because it's this move that everybody has kind of expected for a while, but they seem like they're in no rush to make it. I don't know what's going on there with Brandon Ingram. Like he's too and reportedly he's too good for some of the talk around him on the trade market. Like people doubt him. It's like, is he a perfect player? No. Is he somebody that you want to build your whole entire franchise around? No. But Brandon Ingram is a damn good player that can get it done and outright score the ball. And he's had to play so many different positions on this Pelicans team over the years, that you just put him in a place, I think, where he has a team around him. He has one specific role, one specific position. I think he'll thrive in a situation like that. So
Yeah, for sure. We'll find out. But ultimately, a good win for the Pelicans.
Definitely. Next up, we're going to be going around the league for the rest of the games that we have not gotten to talk about yet. But before we get into that, I got to talk to you guys about Game Time. All right, y'all. So NBA and NHL, everything's going on right now. And with that said, you can get your tickets over on Game Time with a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Plus, when you toggle in the all-in pricing, this feature shows you the total upfront so you don't have any surprise fees at checkout. I don't know about you guys. I don't like surprises for real, especially not surprises when it comes to my money. Plus, you can get a panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy. Plus, with Game Time, you have the best ticketing coverage in the ticketing industry. You can get credited 110% of the difference of your ticket if you find seats in the same section and seat for less. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code, that's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, Swipa. With that said, man, let's go ahead and get into these games. There's a couple of games that we need to catch up on. We haven't. First up, my Bulls against the Nets. We lose that game 120-112. Not a good game for the Bulls, but a really fun. The Nets are turning into a really fun team to watch. A team that I think a lot of people expected to just be tanking right at the start of the season. They've actually had some quality wins so far. How are you feeling about the Nets?
Well, no, you tell me. Why did y'all lose today? Didn't y'all have a lead?
Yeah, we did have a lead. We had a 4-point lead in the fourth quarter, but we ended up only making like 6 field goals in the fourth quarter as well. So, it is what it is there. And our defense sucked.
Yeah, I think, the Nets, I'll say this, Cam Thomas is having a great start to the year.
He is.
Cam was hitting more buckets again today. Cam hit important buckets the other day versus the Memphis Grizzlies. He hit important buckets the other day versus the Denver Nuggets. He hit important buckets the other day versus the Milwaukee Bucks. So he's having like a very good start to his year as a scorer. And Dennis didn't even have like one of his premier games he's been having. Had 9, 7, and 7, but he's still a really good playmaker. Ben Simmons plays today, 8, 8, and 11. And that's the thing. Like the Nets have like a lot of talent. So I think people just expected them to be bad because like who are these guys? There's no Mikal Bridges, but I mean they're a basketball team. And Dorian Finney-Smith's a good role player. Obviously, having Cam Johnson on the roster, he's a really good role player. Helped the Phoenix Suns win 60 games. And then on top of that, bringing up, Nick, Clowney off the bench, and they're bringing Claxton off the bench. They just have a lot of dudes. And so even today, there's just like waves of smart, athletic players that they can throw at you. And then on top of that, because of the way Jordy Fernandez has them running, they're hunting 3-pointers. Like, they're finding the most efficient shots to shoot. And today they only got 36 up, and they didn't even make a lot of them. But I think it's just the overall threat of them offensively and the way they've been moving the ball. And I think having Ben Simmons with other guards on the court, it all just kind of flows together well. So the top-end talent is not going to carry them super far because they don't have it. But in terms of just a night-to-night basis, like, and actually putting you in a situation where you're going to have to really play well, especially closing games well versus them, that's what the Nets are. They put a lot of pressure on you to make the right decision all the time.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Next game up on the docket, the Sacramento Kings and Atlanta Hawks. The Kings win this one 123-115. This is a game where I think things are starting to come together for the Kings. They've had to learn how to adapt to playing with DeMar DeRozan. It happens with every team that he goes to. They've had a little bit of a slow start. They're 3-2 now on the season. The Atlanta Hawks aren't a great team anyway. How are you feeling about either one of these teams, Swipe?
I mean, DeMar DeRozan is a season high with the Kings, and that lineup is just going to take a while to figure out. I mean, De'Aaron Fox, Keegan Murray, DeMar DeRozan, and then Kevin Huerter, and then Sabonis. Like, there's just a lot of mouths to feed in that offense. And then on top of that, their defense isn't good. You know, there's just no real stopper in that lineup except for Fox is good at times. I think he has a lot of potential as a defender, but he has a lot of offensive responsibility. I think Keegan Murray has shown he can be a very good defender. So they just have things they're trying to figure out with their team. And then the Hawks are just also like, they're just there. I mean, Trae Young had 25 and 12. Jalen Johnson, really good player, really good young player. I mean, he's still very young, figuring out what he's supposed to do. Zachary Risache, like, they have players that are like good and capable, but they're really trying to figure out like how do we put all of our talent together on the court. I mean, even starting like Larry Nance and Clint Capella, like they are trying to find a defensive lineup. They're trying to find ways to integrate the rest of the young players in their offense. But ultimately, like I just think that the Kings just out talented them today. I mean, they just have like so many people that they can go to score. And I think one of the things that makes the Kings so good is that when you're playing them, you really do have to be able to like find defensive possessions to get key stops, or you got to be able to keep pace with them on a consistent basis because they have so much shooting around Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, the Kings, the Knicks and the Detroit Pistons. The Knicks win this one 128-98. Never trailed in this game. This game was never close. All starters in double digits. They also get McBride off the bench with 10 points as well. This was just one of those games where the Knicks knew exactly what they needed to do. The Pistons, who has talent, I like a lot of the young talent on the Pistons, and Cade Cunningham, I think, is somebody who, in the right situation, could develop into a star. But like this team is just. It just doesn't work. There are some people that thought with their young talent, maybe they can make the play-in or something this year. They're 1-5 to start the season. How you feeling about the Pistons and the Knicks?
No, yeah, they're way too young, and they have a lot to figure out. So no, they're probably not going to make anything close to the play-in. But I mean, the Knicks did what they were supposed to do. They stayed healthy. They got a win. The starters dominated. They fluffed their stats, and they walked away healthy. You know, Jalen Brunson 36 points today. I mean, that's terrifying. Like, you know, Jalen Brunson versus like Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham. Like, you know, he's such a dynamic scorer. And for him to be able to do what he's doing now with Karl-Anthony Towns, who 21, 11, and 7 assists, I think, tonight. Like, there again, like the Knicks are just trying to figure out, okay, we have this new offensive hub next to Jalen Brunson. And how do we kind of integrate some of his skill sets and make it distinctively different than having like Julius Randle or Julius and Mitchell Robinson on the court. And I think tonight was just another step for them to figure out like their offense. But the Knicks, everything for them comes down to their defense. They're going to be able to score, but are they going to be able to get enough stops when it matters most is the question.
We'll see. I guess that's the test for them over the course of this NBA season, man. We talked about the unbeaten team in the Eastern Conference, which is the Cavs. The Oklahoma City Thunder, the other unbeaten team in the NBA, they go to 5-0 today against the Portland Trail Blazers. And this game was actually surprisingly close through the first half of this game and into parts of the third quarter. And then the Thunder woke up and they never looked back and completely outclassed the Portland Trail Blazers. They end up winning 137-114 in this game. SGA with 30 points. You got Jalen Williams with 22 points in this game as well. Bunch of contributions off the bench from Casey Wallins, Aaron Wiggins, the normal suspects there. The OKC Thunder are just in a class of its own in the Western Conference so far. The Lakers are right there below them as well. We'll talk about them here next. But this was just a game where the Thunder just got things done. They took care of business. Much like you said with the Knicks, You got out of there. I don't like the fact of how close this game was. They allowed 44 points to the Portland Trail Blazers in the second quarter. But how are you feeling about this one, Swipe?
Well, I mean, the Trailblazers still have talent, but what they did is they put Alex Caruso and J-Dub at the 4-5.
Yeah.
In the second half. And that's what like dismantled the Portland Trailblazers. And that's what's so terrifying about the Thunder is that, okay, it's like, all right, well, this isn't working. Hartenstein's not here. Chet's not working here because they're doubting inside DeAndre Ayton, Donovan Clingan, and all that. Well, let's just go really small. But like our small is like aggressive, technical, and defensively inclined, and they can all shoot. And they're just going to run you around the court. So they were just able to find like a new wrinkle. And honestly, I don't even know if I would have thought about that myself, but Mark Daigneault is obviously like one of the best coaches in the league and coach of the year for a reason. And so that's really what did it. It's like the adjustments that they made to this new problem that they didn't feel like they had addressed earlier this year. And then now they are. So we're a week and 3 days into the season. And the Thunder are just showing like there's just levels to like the places that we can go to win basketball games as needed.
Absolutely. And what the Thunder, like the different lineups that they could throw. So many. Daigneault is such a creative coach, and that's something that they didn't have when Billy Donovan was there because he just looks at things outside the box from just a talent standpoint. Like, let's use the talent. Let's put the 5 best players in this situation in, even if the lineup doesn't necessarily make sense on paper. And that's going to be something that's just difficult for teams to adjust to because Daigneault can throw such random lineups out there that can still be effective. And to see how teams adapt to that over the season is going to be really fun to watch as well. But the last game on the docket tonight, the Lakers versus the Toronto Raptors. The Lakers win this one 131-125. After losing to Phoenix and to Cleveland, the Lakers get their first win on the road so far this season. Go ahead, Swipe.
Yeah, this was an interesting game. They were up almost 20 points at one point in time, but then Anthony Davis was in the game without LeBron James. And really, I mean, shout out to Grady and RJ Barrett. They made a little bit of a comeback in this game, Davion Mitchell. But look, the Raptors are talented, and they have the ability, and obviously when Scotty Barnes is healthy especially, that they can just make a lot more pushes than you realize. They actually have like a decent offensive ceiling, but the Lakers are ultimately just able to kind of shut the door. Anthony Davis starting this year off, I mean, he's been maybe one of the 3 best players in the world to start the year off so far. Yeah. I mean, he has 38 and 11 today with 3 steals and 2 blocks. And then LeBron, obviously 27, 6 and 10 assists in 36 minutes played. They're just like, they're figuring out how to play together. And D'Angelo Russell and Austin, and so what JJ Redick is doing is trying to find ways to maximize all of their talent. So D'Angelo Russell is spending more time with Anthony Davis now. And then Austin Reeves is spending more time with LeBron James now with the bench unit. And it's just trying to find ways to stabilize their offensive success over the course of a game, and it's working. So LA, they actually have like a really nice process that they're building, and even though they gave up 125 points to Toronto, Toronto also has the ability to score, and they actually had a really nice comeback in the middle of that game as well.
Yeah, and I think what the job that JJ Redick is doing as a first-time head coach with his Lakers team and just finding a balance in the system and sticking to it and even finding his rotation early in the season and finding the balance between that. Like, JJ Redick is really, really just – we're seeing somebody develop into a great coach on the fly. Like, of course, got to see it happen over the course of a full season and seasons to see just how good he can be. But so far, it's so promising what he's done already here in L.A. I just hope that the Lakers continue to be patient with him. And, you know, we'll see if the Lakers end up going star chasing or whatever with the trade or whatever or whatnot. But JJ and the balance that he's found here with this roster has just been great to watch.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
So, but man, that's it for us for today. Thank you guys for tuning in to Locked On NBA Game Night, where it's every game, every night here. And also make sure you guys go to LockedOnDaily.com because your favorite team has a newsletter now that's released daily. That's all the teams here at Locked On NBA. So we appreciate you guys for that one. But you can catch me and Swiper again next Friday. We'll be recapping it and doing it again. But for Swiper, man, it's Locked On NBA. We out of here. Peace, y'all.